It's time. Time to pick every spread and every total for week 3 of the 2025 NFL season. Welcome, football fans and gridiron gamblers. I'm Money Mitch, and these are my week 3 picks versus the spread every over-under of week 3. If that sounds good, don't forget to like the video, show your love by subscribing to the new NFL betting channel, Money Mitch, and hop in the comments and let me know your picks for week 3. Every week, every Wednesday, every total, every spread. Let's get to it. Beginning with Thursday night football, the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. The total is 49.5, and the Bills are current 12.5 point favorites. Give me Buffalo to win, Buffalo to cover, and the over 49.5. It just makes sense in my mind mathematically to take the Buffalo Bills minus a huge number of 12.5 and to go over on the game. Plus, I think both of the offenses are superior to the defenses. It's pretty simple. Miami travels to Buffalo in September, meaning it's not going to be all that cold. Last year they played in Buffalo, it was a relatively high-scoring game, and it was actually fairly close last season. My problem with Miami is their offensive line is pretty weak. I think the Bills can certainly tee off in key moments to get key stops in this game to create margin and to win that way. I also believe that the Dolphins' defense is really bad. Like, this might be the worst defense in football. It's certainly in the conversation alongside units like Carolina. Their secondary is atrocious, and I don't see them defending Josh Allen whatsoever. I don't see how Josh Allen doesn't have a huge day throwing the football. We know the Bills are a great running football team. I just don't know how the Bills are stopped by the Miami Dolphins. It's in Buffalo. No crowd advantage, no heat advantage for the Dolphins. Drake May did whatever he wanted. Daniel Jones did whatever he wanted. Now imagine what Josh Allen's going to do. It really depends on how much the Bills actually try to absolutely destroy the Dolphins. That's really what it comes down to with the total, in my opinion. I certainly see Buffalo hitting 30. It's just a matter of how much does Miami score. And I do feel like Tua and the Dolphins played a bit better last week. I think that the Bills' defense still has its questions at safety in the secondary, its speed of its secondary. Waddle, Tyreek Hill could take advantage of that. Devon Achane has been catching the ball well out of the backfield. I don't see the Dolphins getting much going in the run game, but I do think they could throw the ball a bit against this Bills team, especially if Buffalo gets a lead. That's where maybe they take the foot off the gas and allow the Dolphins to maybe move the ball a bit. So either way, I'm expecting 30 to 40 from the Bills alone. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take the Bills to win. For a big spread, I actually like the Bills quite a bit here. Next, the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jags. Jacksonville's favored by 1.5, 2 points, somewhere in that range. The total is 44. I think I'm going to lean under only because of what I've seen from the Houston Texans offensively. And I know how good their defense is. I have my questions about Trevor Lawrence. The one thing I will say about Liam Cohen is we just saw Tampa Bay's offense have a lot of success. Tampa's offense is similar to Jacksonville's offense for obvious reasons, with Liam Cohen being the head coach of Jacksonville, the former offensive coordinator of Tampa Bay. But Trevor Lawrence is not Baker Mayfield. Trevor Lawrence cannot take pressure like Baker Mayfield. There's questions right now about Brian Thomas and his effort level, catching the ball over the middle. I think Derek Stingley can slow him down in this matchup. Travis Hunter has not looked the part. So Jacksonville's been very reliant on their ground game, very reliant on their screen game. And guys like Parker Washington, guys like De'Ami Brown, maybe they find some success in this game. But to me, the Texans have a top 3 defense. They have a top 2 pass rush in football. And they have a very good pass defense overall. I think the Jags can move the ball a bit, and I think they can run the ball, and they're creative, but I do think that, again, Baker made so many plays as the quarterback, and I'm just not a believer in Trevor that way, so I will take the under. A lot of people are going to be on Jacksonville because the Houston Texans just do not look the part as a team, but it's hard for me to imagine the Texans going 0-3, so I'm actually going to take the Texans. They started the year, remember, against the Rams and the Bucs, two clear playoff teams, right? Last year and probably this year. Jacksonville has yet to really answer. Browning did very well against this defense, and despite 3 interceptions, the Bengals still beat the Jags. The Texans' defense will keep them in the game. I do think that out of the Rams, Bucs, and Jags, this is probably the worst defense Stroud has faced yet. And they do get Christian Kirk back in this game. I feel like it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be a very close game. But again, I just don't see CJ Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, this Texans defense falling to 0-3. So I'll take them with the slight upset in Jacksonville. I like what I've seen from the Jags overall, but it's not like they're accustomed to winning. It's not like they're a team that's proven themselves. It's not like they're a team that won't lose a game. You know what I mean? Like, they lost to the Bengals. They gave the game away. They could very well do that against Houston again. And I do expect better from the Texans offensively in this game. So I'll take Houston as the dog with the points. I would not bet this, but this is my play for the game. Cardinals at Niners. This line is kind of tricky right now because we're unsure if Brock Purdy's going to play or not. Obviously, the line would move from 1.5, and I've already seen it at 2.5 with the recent report that Brock Purdy did practice and has a chance to play. Doesn't mean he will play, but has a chance. I don't think it will move above 3, though, so if you like the Niners, I'd still take the Niners. The total is 44.5. The Cardinals have injuries in the secondary. The Niners have injuries mostly offensively with George Kittle, still Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is beat up, although he played well last week. The Niners' defense has looked the part. Their pass rush is really good. And I actually think this Niners defense is a tough matchup for the Cardinals. The Cardinals, they were a very good running team last year. So far this year, they've struggled to run the ball against 2 suspect defenses, the Saints and the Panthers. They've not ran the ball well. James Conner's had around 3.5 yards per carry. This is the best run defense they've faced yet in the 49ers. This is the best defense, period, they've faced yet. I don't love what I'm seeing from Marvin Harrison Jr. in year 2. Trey McBride is facing a very good linebacking core. Fred Warner, D. Winters, they're playing great in coverage right now. I think the Cardinals struggle to move the ball and struggle to score points. We know the Niners have great team speed defensively, which doesn't really allow Kyler Murray to move around, manipulate, and buy time, right? The Niners can catch him, they can track him down in space, and they can basically contain him well enough. I think Robert Saleh makes a huge difference from last year to this year in this matchup against this offense. And I just don't see the Cardinals having overwhelming weapons to attack the Niners. So I like the Niners in this game, and I would say the under 44.5. If it's Brock Purdy, he's going to be a bit beat up, not as mobile as usual. If it's Mac Jones, he's not mobile in general, and he's not super explosive. He can certainly be calculated, accurate, on time, but it's going to be a short dink and dunk passing game complemented by Christian McCaffrey. I think the Niners will win. The Niners are at home. I don't love the Cardinals' secondary injuries. I think that allows Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings to have success. If the Cardinals had their corners, I'd be a little bit more hesitant here, but I actually like the Niners quite a bit. I like that they've won 2 games on the road. They're coming home. This is their home opener. I like how Mac performed. I feel like the Cardinals have faced the 2 worst teams in football. That's kind of elevating their status right now. I haven't been overwhelmed or super impressed by Arizona on offense or on defense. I actually think the defense is the better unit for Arizona, but they have some injuries in the secondary. So I like the Niners, -1.5, -2, -2.5. I like the under, I think, at 44.5. The under is tough, though. I'm not going to lie. Next, 43.5 is the total. Colts minus 3.5, potentially up to 4.5 in some places. 4, right, around that range. The Colts are hard to pick against right now. The Titans have played competitively against Denver and competitively against the Rams. 2 teams that in the preseason were expected to be better than the Colts. The Colts are a divisional foe going on the road to play Cam Ward and the Titans. The Titans have a very strong interior defensive line. They also have a pretty decent secondary. I would say that Tennessee's defense maybe has a chance to slow down the Colts early in this game. Daniel Jones has been airing it out. He's been playing great. He's not making mistakes. The Colts offensive line, Jonathan Taylor, they're playing well. But remember, they've played at home back-to-back weeks, right? This is the first time they've played on the road. And I could see the Titans making this game very close. I don't love what I've seen from the Titans offensively. I'm a little bit worried about their offensive line. I do think Tony Pollard has looked the part. I do feel like the Colts have some cornerback injuries. I wonder if those guys will return or not this week. Bo Nix had a really good game after struggling against Tennessee. I actually think the Titans can win this game. Might be crazy. It's definitely an upset. I'll take the Titans to cover, the Colts to win. I will take the under 43.5. I think that the reason, if the Titans win, I think it's because of their defense. I don't necessarily think it's because they score a ton of points. But I think if they can slow down Jonathan Taylor, it gives them a chance. This is definitely a tough one. But 4, 4.5, 3.5, above a field goal, I think I like the Titans to keep it within that. So, tough. I could see the upset here, though. Not a bettable game for me. 41.5 is the total. Green Bay minus 8 at Cleveland. Give me the Packers to win, Packers to cover. 41.5 is tricky. The Packers have a great defense. The Browns have a good defense. Fundamentals would say take the under. It's a very low number, though. I could see the Packers somewhat struggling to move the ball against Cleveland because Josh Jacobs is beat up. Cleveland's run defense has been awesome. I mean, they really did a good job against Derrick Henry. And the Packers also have injuries at wide receiver. Jaden Reed is out. So Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, they've played really, really well this year. I thought Cleveland gave the Ravens some problems. But the wackiness of Cleveland is tough to account for. I would basically stay away from all totals involving Cleveland because Joe Flacco throws too many interceptions. Last week, they had a fumble return for a touchdown, Baltimore. They had nearly an interception return for a touchdown. Despite the Ravens not even getting 300 yards of offense, they still scored, 40-plus points? So it's really hard to calculate this Cleveland team from a total perspective. But fundamentals would suggest this is 2 of the better defenses in football. The Packers can probably be the best team they've played so far that can actually block Cleveland, which gives me confidence that Green Bay can win this game. And I think they'll cover. But I think it'll be kind of ugly. This feels like a 24-10 type game. Maybe like 24-13. So give me the Packers. I love how well their defense is playing. I think their pass rush can dominate Cleveland's suspect tackles, Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons. I think they're playing extremely fast. I think they can handle those over-the-middle passes from Joe Flacco to Fannin to Njoku, Judy. So I'm counting on Green Bay's defense. I'm counting on Myles Garrett. I'm going to take the under 41.5. I'm going to go Green Bay minus 8. That's the pick. Next. 41.5 for the Saints and the Seahawks. Seattle minus 7.5. Seattle has not been good at home in the last couple of seasons. They've already lost to the Niners at home. The Saints aren't the Niners, but the Saints have played pretty competitively. They played tight against the Niners, and they played to the end against the Cardinals. And they didn't cover in either of the games. Keep that in mind. And both were also at home in the Dome. Keep that in mind as well, and not on the road. So this will be Spencer Rattler's first experience outside of New Orleans this season, which is a little scary. And he's also playing arguably the best defense he's played so far. The Seahawks and the Niners are both, I think, top 10 defenses. But Seattle is very confusing from a coverage perspective. They have very good interior push from their defensive line, and they don't really allow you to run the ball, like, at all. So I think I got to go Seattle. They're definitely going to win this game. I think I'm going to go under because Seattle's offense, I think, is going to be a bit hit and miss this year. And so far, from what I've seen from New Orleans, they've slowed down James Conner. They didn't do a bad job against CMC on the ground. They've done a pretty good job of defending the run. And I kind of feel like any team that can stop the run can slow down Seattle a bit. Because Seattle is so much predicated on play action and running to set up the pass that I feel like Seattle is not going to be potent or high scoring unless they can hit those shot plays downfield. So I'm going to take the under 41.5, another under. And I guess because of that, I'll take the 7.5 with the Saints. I think Seattle definitely wins, but this could be like a 24-17 where they just cover by half a point. So this is a really tricky number. You're getting that hook on the touchdown. And so far, New Orleans has yet to lose by more than a touchdown. And I don't think the Seahawks are really a team that I want to be laying more than a touchdown with. So just fundamentally, I'm going to take the Saints. All right, next up, we have the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. Total is 46, Chargers -3. That total is really weird. 46 is a weird number in general. Chargers -3. I don't love what I've seen from Denver overall. I feel like their defense the first couple of weeks, the first week they were very good against Tennessee, but they were playing a rookie quarterback in his first ever game on the road at Mile High. They're on the road now in this game in another dome environment where they just played the Colts. The Colts are incredibly well schemed on offense. They hit you with a lot of balance. The Chargers are not a very good running team right now. In fact, they're one of the worst running teams in the league. The Chargers defense is very stiff in the red zone. The Chargers, though, don't have Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is basically half their pass rush. That's concerning because Denver has right now the best pass blocking offensive line so far this season. So Bo Nix will have a ton of time. So even if he's confused by what the Chargers are doing down the field, I think he's going to have a ton of time to find his second or third option in the passing game. And I feel like Sean Payton can scheme some things up against this defense. We saw them play last year, and I feel like both of those games were relatively high scoring, or maybe even unexpectedly so. Like if I were to look that up right now, I feel like both the games were higher scoring than we would have thought. 34-27, 23-16. Chargers won both games. Chargers are at home for this game. Chargers look like the better team right now. I could see Denver winning this game. They're certainly more desperate. It's not like the Chargers have a vaunted home field advantage. That being said, Chargers look like the better team. Herbert, it's hard to bet against him. I feel like the Chargers have enough weaponry where Pat Surtain could take away one of these receivers and another one of them could shine. I'm a bit concerned about the one-dimensionality of the offense for really both teams. But I'm going to lean over because I just feel like Herbert's playing so well right now. It's hard to bet against that. It's hard to take an under in a Herbert game. And I feel like with the lack of pass rush for the Chargers, the Broncos will be able to scheme up some points in this game. And I like how Bo played last week. I'm not going to lie. I love Troy Franklin, how he's playing. Sutton should be able to make some plays here. So I like the over the most. In terms of who wins, I feel like I just can't pick against the Chargers. They won both games last year. They're a top 6 team in the NFL, in my opinion, right now. I don't want to be fading Justin Herbert the way he's playing. They're at home. The Chargers fans are going to be pumped. They've yet to play at home this year. They played in Brazil. They played in Vegas. Maybe that travel catches up to them. Maybe the short week catches up to them. That's very possible. I'd stay away from this game, guys. Basically what I'm saying. But I'll take the Chargers to win. -3. If you want to take the Chargers, I wouldn't bet it at 3. I'd probably try to find a 2.5. I wouldn't do it, though. But I'll take the over 46. I feel like that might be the best play on the board. 44.5 is the total for Patriots Steelers. Pittsburgh is -1.5. I'll put it this way. If Christian Gonzalez plays, I'll take the under. If Christian Gonzalez does not play, I'll take the over. Pittsburgh -1.5. I think all you guys know where I'm going here. I'm taking New England to win. This is probably going to be a best bet. I don't think Pittsburgh is very good. One thing I'll say about this matchup, I feel like Josh McDaniels has, over the years, consistently had the upper hand against Mike Tomlin's defenses and schemes. And I know that a lot of that was Tom Brady. But at the same time, I feel like McDaniels can find ways to scheme up Hunter Henry against these weak safeties. I feel like he can find up ways to scheme up Diggs or Douglas in the slot against, a pretty weak defense in the middle. I also think that New England's offensive line showed a big jump from week 1 to week 2. Drake May is the better quarterback in this game. He's more elusive. He can make plays with his feet. He can make plays scrambling. I also feel like New England's run game has been more consistent than Pittsburgh. Last week it shined with Ramondre Stevenson. Pittsburgh can't run the ball. New England hasn't really allowed Miami or the Raiders to run the ball all that successfully. And I do see Aaron Rodgers making some plays if Gonzalez doesn't play here, because I think New England has struggled to stop the pass, whether it be Tua or Geno Smith. Both of them had 300-yard days. So it's concerning from that vantage point. But Gonzalez would completely eliminate the upside there. But New England does have a pass rush that leads the NFL in sacks. They are at home. Milton Williams, Harold Landry against a very suspect protection unit of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh has really struggled to stop the run so far this year. I think New England is the better team. So I'm going to take the Patriots to win. In the upset, I will take the over if Gonzo doesn't play, the under if Gonzo does play. Period. I could see money coming in on the over, though, because both these teams have been over teams so far this year. Next, the New York Jets at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Total is 43.5. Tampa is -7. I think I like the under if I had to go either way. I would take Tampa at -6.5 as a bet, potentially. I will take them -7 as my pick. The main reason being, if it's Tyrod Taylor, it's Tyrod Taylor. If it's Justin Fields, it's a guy that holds the ball against Todd Bowles' blitzing scheme. What I'm concerned about here for Tampa is the offensive line injuries. Luke Gedeke at right tackle, Cody Mock at right guard, and Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. Now, they were able to overcome that to a degree against the Texans, who are a much better defense than the Jets. They're also playing at home. The Jets have struggled to stop the run. The Bucs look like they could run the ball against Houston last week. Bucky Irving, Rachaad White played great. That could carry over. Mike Evans might be limited by Sauce Gardner, but Emeka Egbuka could have a good game here, maybe even a sprinkle of Cade Otton as well. I think Tampa's the much better team. I think that the Jets are a run-centric team that needs to force the ball down your throat to be able to move the ball. And I don't think you can do that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front. They're too good against the run, which is going to force either of these bad passers to throw the football consistently, which isn't going to work out. So I think Tampa wins, Tampa covers. I would take the under because I like Tampa's defense in this game as a fundamental matchup. It's also a Todd Bowles revenge game in some way, shape, or form because he did get fired by the Jets. The Jets defense hasn't been very good, though, which is a bit of a scare for the under, but I just like the matchup for Tampa's defense, so I think that Tampa wins kind of an ugly game. Their offensive line injuries might also hurt them in the pass protection part of things. Next, the Rams at the Eagles. 44.5 is the total. I'm going to take the over here at 44.5. I will take the Rams plus 3.5. I think that the Eagles still should find ways to run the ball against the Rams, even if they've improved their front seven to help them stop the run and Saquon Barkley by adding a big name or a big man like Poona Ford. I also think that the Rams, if Witherspoon is out at cornerback, that significantly hinders their secondary. He's been very, very good since they signed him late last season. I do think that you can make plays against this secondary. You can dink and dunk them a little bit, and I do think Jalen Hurts will go about that way. I also think that the Eagles will be able to move the ball on the ground. So I like the Eagles matchup offensively. I also feel like Stafford is one of the few quarterbacks that can dice up the Eagles. The Eagles don't have a great pass rush. The Rams have a solid offensive line. The Rams, I feel like, were able to prove last year that they can go into Philly and throw the football. And Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are problems for any secondary in any team and any defense in football. And I do feel like Sean McVay has a beat on Vic Fangio. So I think Stafford, the way he's playing, coupled with Saquon and that offensive line of the Eagles, leads to points on the board. Something like a 27-24 game. I'm not sure if the Rams outright win, but I do think they cover a field goal. So I'll take them plus 3.5. The Falcons at the Panthers. Panthers total is 43.5. The spread is 5.5. I'll take Atlanta to win. I'll take the over, 43.5. The Falcons defense has played exceptional football. Actually, I have to think about the over for a sec, but that was my first thought. Atlanta for sure at under 6. The one fundamental reason, Bijan Robinson against Carolina's run defense. That's number one. Bijan went crazy against Minnesota last week. He had 145 yards or something crazy like that. Bijan, to me, looks like the best back in football, the way he's skating and gliding around and moving and dipping and cutting and all that sort of stuff. I like what I've seen from Penix. They have a lot of weapons to beat you with. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney. They've got all the different pieces. The O-line's solid. Panthers shouldn't have much of a pass rush here. Carolina playing at home should help their offense. Their offensive line has definitely had some injuries. I think it has 2 or 3 current injuries, which is concerning against a defense in Atlanta that had 6 sacks last week against the Minnesota Vikings. They do have some young ballers out there. Bishop and Watts are playing really well in the secondary. AJ Terrell has played solid this year. Jesse Bates is a dog. I love how David Onyemata is playing. James Pierce. Falcons defense is playing fierce football. It depends on how much the Falcons get the lead and how much they're able to kill the clock and how much they're able to keep Bryce Young out of garbage time points. Last week, the Cardinals defense dominated the Bryce Young Panthers when the Panthers were when it was a real game. Then by the fourth quarter, it was just garbage time point after garbage time point, leading to a lot of points. So that's my concern about the over-under here. I could see a world where the Falcons thoroughly dominate the Panthers from a defensive standpoint against their offense. But at the same time, I could see where the Panthers are able to kind of make up some points at the end of the game, which pushes this total over. So that's what makes this maybe some unbettable action for me on the total side of things. My first inclination was over, so I'm just going to stick with that, and I will take Atlanta minus 5.5. I feel like at 5.5, that's a decent bet. Next, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings. The total is 42, I believe, which is way too low, I think. And Minnesota minus 3. I will take the over. I actually really like this number. And Minnesota minus 3, I will take the Bengals plus a field goal. I like Jake Browning. I think he's better than people think. And I think the offense actually dips less than people think from Burrow to Browning. I feel like Burrow is awesome. But with how good these receivers are, I feel like when you're calculated, accurate, on time, on schedule, like Browning is, who's a better backup than most in the league. He's one of the better backups there is. He can get the ball out. I feel like, Brian Flores is going to bring a lot of different stuff at him, but it's a beat-up defense in Minnesota right now in the front seven. I do think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to be problems for the Vikings secondary, who do not have good cornerbacks, and I do think you can feast through those matchups alone. On the other side, I just think Kevin O'Connell finds a way to scheme up against this Cincinnati defense that isn't very good. Carson Wentz isn't very good in my opinion, but he can't be much worse than J.J. McCarthy. We're also hearing that Christian Darrisaw has practiced. Maybe he returns this week. That would be massive. I think Jordan Mason gets something going on the ground. I think Justin Jefferson is uncoverable for Cincinnati. And I think Wentz just spams Jefferson the ball. This will be an LSU wide receiver game. Chase, Jefferson. I have the over 42. I have the Bengals probably to win and to cover this game. Next, 50.5 is the total in Dallas, Chicago. Dallas minus 1. This is a high number. I'm going to take Dallas because I'm going to take Dak over Caleb every day of the week, especially on Sunday. I think Dallas has shown to have the better offense so far, the more consistent offense. Javonte Williams, sleeping giant in the backfield right now with the way he's playing. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens against a Bears secondary without Jalen Johnson. Sign me up. Jake Ferguson's playing good football. And the Cowboys defense, they looked really bad last week. Follow the progress and the report of Deron Bland. I would go over 50.5. I know it's a massive number, but I think it's big for a reason. Ben Johnson, I think he'll find ways to scheme up plays against Dallas's defense. Matt Eberflus has played Ben Johnson few times before, right? But I do feel like Dallas, they don't have an overwhelming pass rush. And their strength of their pass rush is up the middle, where Chicago has a good offensive line led by Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman. And I do feel like Chicago has a plethora of weapons that can separate and make plays. Rome Odunze broke out last week. DJ Moore can make plays. I think Ben Johnson finds a way to scheme up against this defense that has a few holes. You can definitely get after them. They really struggle to communicate in the back end of their defense. I'll take the over 50.5. Chicago's defense also looked atrocious. And I think Dallas will score in the 30s. So give me Dallas to win and the over. Next, 44 is the total for the Raiders and the Commanders. Commanders at -3.5. This feels like a very accurate total, 44. It feels like a 24-20 game in my mind. I'm going to take 3.5 with Geno Smith and the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a little bit better than they're given credit for. I think Geno had a bad game. He's due for a bounce back. The Commanders did have extra time to prepare here. But out of the Patriots defense and the Chargers defense and the Washington defense, I think Washington probably has the worst defense out of all three units. Washington doesn't have a great pass rush, and their corners are still a little suspect in my mind. I feel like Geno can find ways to move the ball with Brock Bowers over the middle, Jacoby Myers over the middle. Those are weaknesses they can take advantage of. Ashton Genty might get it going too. On the other side, if Marcus Mariota's playing, I expect him to be playing. I think he's a bit better than people give him credit for, and I think the dip from Daniels to Mariota is not as big as people think. We saw that last year. Mariota runs the offense well. He gets the ball out of his hands. He can move. He can run. The Raiders defense, though, is a bit underrated. They're very good against the run. They can be taken advantage of at corner, though, but you have to throw the ball down the field, which I feel like Mariota doesn't do that well. So I'll take the Raiders with the points. I'm going to lean under between two defensive coaches, but I don't love it. I don't love the under. But I'm going to lean under. The Raiders struggled in the red zone against the Chargers. The Commanders, I don't know. They look really bad against the Packers. That's tough. And no Daniels. I'm going to lean under. I don't love it. Next, 45.5, Giants, Chiefs. Total is 6.5. Another total that's very, very tough because I feel like the Chiefs and the Giants could go over, but I feel like they also could go under. We've seen it 2 weeks in a row with the Giants. You're just going to have inconsistency with Russell Wilson. 1 week, he's the best quarterback in football, throwing for 450 yards. The week before, he was the worst quarterback in football. So, what do you really expect? Now, this is what I'd be counting on. I'd be counting on Steve Spagnuolo to find the right game plan to slow down Russell Wilson and Malik Neighbors and the Giants. And I would count on the Giants' pass rush to be able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes with very limited receiver options. So if I had to choose, I'll take the Giants plus 6.5, and I'll take the under 45.5. I feel like those two things are correlated. If Kansas City somehow finds a way to score points, which they barely do, then they're going to cover this game. If the Chiefs can score 27 points, I feel like they cover, even if it's 27-20. So I'll take the under 45.5. I'll take the Giants plus 6.5. And that might even be like a parlay situation because it feels extremely correlated in my mind. Monday Night Football, very high total of 52.5. Baltimore -5. That's a very high total. I like Baltimore a lot. My question is, do I take the over or the under? The Lions have a good offense, but I don't necessarily feel like Baltimore's defense is a great matchup for them. They're one of the biggest defenses in football. They're good at stopping the run. The Lions' offense is predicated on their run defense, and the Lions aren't quite the same offense when they're a drop-back offense. When they're a drop-back passing offense, they're not quite the same. Baltimore has very good cornerbacks on paper. Can they be sticky enough to give Jared Goff some problems? It's also in Baltimore on a Monday night. Hype. I feel like that helps the defense in Baltimore. The Lions, I think they don't have much of a pass rush outside of Aiden Hutchinson. Their cornerbacks are solid. Their safeties are excellent. Their linebackers are very good. They do have that middle of the field capability, but I don't think they're going to get a lot of pressure on Lamar. I think they're probably going to struggle with Lamar's scramble plays. And I do feel like because they play a lot of man coverage, that's not a good recipe against Lamar Jackson. We saw this game a couple years ago, and the Ravens, I feel like, beat them by like 30. 52.5 is a high number. I'm going to go Ravens to cover under 52.5. It's just too big of a number for me. And I still believe the Ravens have a good defense. So I'll take Baltimore -5. I just feel like Josh Allen did Josh Allen things. He was Superman, and people think the Ravens defense isn't good. I just feel like it was one game. So there it is, guys. My picks for the over-unders of week 3. My spread picks and everything in between. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 1,000 subs. That gets my second channel here on YouTube monetized. That's the goal. Thank you guys so much for supporting me so far. I'm having so much fun creating new content on Money Mitch. And stay tuned for my best bets that will be out on Thursday. It's Mitch. Peace.